Lavinia and Shehzad joined in the studio by our very beautiful and special guest, Charmaine Marsh.
Hello.
Hello. She's the clinical director and therapist at Goodity Co. Such a cool name, actually. And today we're talking about, we're getting into some pretty meaningful but serious stuff as well. Okay, so join us as we hit live. One FM 91.3 Good Times Greatest Hits. Good morning and welcome to the Brightside. That was the Fray and How to Save a Life. Funny that song should come on because these days we're hearing a lot about, depression, anxiety and stress. And we want to know how we can help people and ourselves, through some of these challenges that we face that seem to be growing. And today joining us in the studio is Charmaine Marsh, the clinical director and senior therapist of Goodity Co. Welcome, Charmaine.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
So, Charmaine, let's start with the problems that younger people like myself are facing. What are some of the common issues and themes that seem to be cropping up these days?
I think, Carol, you nailed it on the head. It's really about anxiety, a lot of depressive symptoms, and just feeling this general overwhelmingness about the amount of pressure that they have on themselves to try and keep up with things, maybe, or to have a certain outlook or presentation of how they show themselves to the world, basically. Yeah. I think they're also stuck navigating maybe family history, some family trauma. Trauma doesn't have to necessarily be abuse and things like that. It just could be a very tough childhood. So navigating being a young adult, navigating the past as well, everything put together, it can be very overwhelming for young people as well.
Shehzad, did you catch that? Young person, you?
Yes.
Yes.
Taking it all in.
And but Charmaine, how much does like a role of social media, even that whole idea of like keeping up with the Joneses play in all of this? Have you noticed sort of a trend going upwards or even the other way as people are increasingly going dark or limiting their exposure to social media?
Yeah, I think I have met one or two people in my life who don't have any social media, who don't even have Telegram or WhatsApp, and I'm like, wow, how do you do it? But I think, we very easily demonize social media. Like quite a lot of good things have come out of it. I get my recipes there, a lot of mental health apps and support groups are also using social media. Goodity is one of them as well to try and get the good message out there as well. But I think that the issue is that without emotional maturity, navigating social media can be very dangerous because we don't have the ability to distance ourselves from what we're seeing, the content we're seeing. So it becomes like, I see this person with a perfect life and I also want that. But I'm not able to see that person has a perfect life, but I don't have to be that person. And that takes a certain kind of, maybe some kind of really emotional maturity to know that it's okay to not have that. And I think a lot of the young people may not have got that yet. And that's why they're more susceptible maybe.
Shehzad, it's okay not to have that, okay, young person?
I will not be so aspirational.
Yes.
It's one thing to know that, but I think to apply that sometimes even as adults and users of social media ourselves, that we tend to forget. We know that it's not real, but somewhere in the back of your head, you're like, I still got to try. I still got to aspire to this. So how do we, even as adults, we're struggling with that. How do we manage that?
I totally feel you. I mean, I watched this video just last night about these people who were cleaning their house and it's so neat. And I look at mine and I'm like, oh my gosh. But I think it's kind of sitting in that space that what I have is enough. What I have on my body, my face, my food, my house, everything. It's okay. It's okay to not have everything together. It's okay to fall apart at the seams sometimes. And it's just about giving us a space to pull ourselves back together after that as well.
And remember, you can always hire help. You can organize, get those organizers to come in and do it for you.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Outsource.
Yes.
In Asia in particular, does society's expectations add on to the pressure and how can that be countered?
Yeah, I think definitely. I mean, there's always this taboo about talking about mental health, it's always, you're crazy and there's nothing, maybe older generations, not to
Stereotype.
Yes, thank you. But I think there's this toughen up kind of mentality. Like, hey, come on, you gotta be tougher. You gotta just get through it. Look, we turned out okay. We didn't have all this mental health thing, and we're okay. So that kind of puts the pressure that I can't talk about it. Maybe I have to just toughen it up and deal with it. But we are living in a very different generation than our elders, and I think there's also this expectation of filial piety that puts this added pressure that I have to listen to them. I'm obliged them, and I have to do this in a certain way, or I am not right. I'm not fitting into this social group of being in this culture, in this society.
Have you found that in Asia now we're becoming more open to talking about it, or is it still very much stigmatized?
Actually, yeah, I think that's something that I've noticed, that a lot more little initiatives and groups and helping kind of help providing services have come up, and that's really, really encouraging. You see a lot of initiatives that were supported by Skate previously and all that. So I think with that, it gives us more opportunities to have these conversations, to bring this to the forefront as well. However, it's not just one, it has to be a collective effort. When the younger generation bring this up, then the older generation, how can we come in and, I say we, but how can we come in and try and support this and carry on this conversation, and not just, this is a young person thing, it doesn't apply to me. Because it's a collective thing, and if we want to move forward, we all have to kind of accept that this is the way.
It's evolving.
It's
We can't just
evolution,
stay stuck in our ways, because we used to look at our parents and say that, it's a different time. You grew up in a different time. They expected us to be very hardy and tough.
Yeah.
And then now it's our generation that's saying to the younger ones, come on, you guys, don't be so strawberry or whatever. But we need to evolve together as a community, as a society. Wow, very interesting stuff to unpack. And join us on Facebook Live at facebook.com/1FM91.3. The conversation continues there, and back on air with Charmaine in just a bit. All these buttons.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. Of course, we've got Charmaine Marsh with us here in the studio. And remember, just by chiming in, share with us your questions or, any comments on our Facebook Live. Comment there. And it might just win you this $200 shopping voucher from Kiki and Sebi, where you can get luxurious, sustainable, and safe baby products.
Charmaine, how many people do you see on a weekly basis, like young and old? And how often are these issues coming up, would you say?
Well, it depends, I think. I see maybe, for myself, maybe about 3 to 4. I just keep it manageable. But these issues are very common. I think, maybe 90% of the work we do is about anxiety, depressive symptoms, and how to manage it. A lot of it can be traced back. Ultimately, it's when the anxiety and depressive symptoms come up, it's kind of how we start to deal with things that when we are triggered, right? And all these triggers sometimes are because of how we were in the past, how we were raised, how our childhood experiences were. And then we form this way of coping with things, which may not be very useful for us once we are older. It may not be the best way of coping with things. And then, when there's some incongruence in that's where all this, it's not working anymore. Whatever I was doing in the past is not working anymore. And then there's this, that's where stuff starts to just go downhill a little bit. So it's about kind of balancing out how are our coping mechanisms relevant to our struggles right now? How have we unpacked the past so that we don't have to keep trying to heal the past using the present in that sense? Yeah.
Oh, that's deep. How to heal the past without using the present?
Yeah.
Gosh, that's like a slap in the face for me.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to say, I was raised like that. My parents brought me up like that. And then we just fall back
That's
on
a
that
crutch.
as a
Almost.
Yeah.
exactly a crutch. So how you need some emotional maturity to deal with that and to unpack those issues, right? What are some practical tips?
Well, what I do with my clients is we look at whatever in the past that you felt that you needed at that point, which you can't get now from your parents. It's not reasonable to expect that. So if you needed attention, you needed affection, support, and all that, instead of turning to other people for that, how can you then find a way to give it to yourself? How can I affirm myself? How can I tell myself that, hey, this is okay, this is all right? Something that a parent might want to do for us, maybe we were younger, but we didn't get that kind of support. So a lot of trying to find right now the gaps that we felt in the past that we can, fill up for ourselves at this point.
Wow. Okay, so that's actually quite manageable. We can do that for ourselves.
Yeah.
Because we're empowered. We know how to do it. But some people just, I don't have it in me.
It's hard, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we should speak to pretty ladies like Charmaine.
Actually, no, you bring up a good point. I think some
that she's
people
pretty,
in the
yes.
past, they've gone for therapy, but it doesn't quite always work. Sometimes you don't gel with your therapist, and then as a result, you don't get to the answers you're looking for. Yeah, so what should you be looking for actually in a therapist?
Do you
That's a
feel
good
safe?
question.
Yeah. Do you feel safe? That's the most important thing.
Do you feel safe?
Do you feel safe?
Do you
Because
feel
if you
safe?
don't feel safe, then do you feel safe?
Right now, yes.
Because you're sat so far from her.
Pressure.
I do not have a gun to his head.
Do you feel safe? Okay, that should be the first thing. And what's the next thing you can look out for?
And just the general vibe. I know we always use the word vibe check very casually these days, but it's a real thing. If you cannot feel like this is a person that might get you or might understand you, even though you feel safe with the person, then there's a high chance you may not want to share, or you may not feel comfortable sharing regardless. So it's a lot about feeling that there's a connection, and just feeling safe around that person. A therapist also spends the first couple of sessions trying to build a good therapeutic alliance with a client. So it's a lot about building that rapport and all that. So the first few sessions might be like, when are we going to talk about my issue? But
I
really,
see.
what they're trying to do is connect with you so that you will have that, that highway to just have these conversations.
Open you up kind of
Yeah.
thing. Right.
I like how she says it's an alliance. I like that.
Yeah.
Hey, but can we just add that, if you don't feel those things, you don't feel safe, you don't have that, vibe, you're not vibing with your therapist, that it's okay to change therapists.
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
it takes a lot for people to come forward and
Yes,
seek
that's a
help,
good point.
find a therapist,
Yeah.
and then they think like, I'm stuck with it. You know?
Yeah.
And I think it's an important thing because a lot of clients say that.
We'll talk more about this. So we're going to head back on air. These are great points about
Yeah.
finding the right therapist for you here on The Brightside. Join us then.
1FM 91.3 Good Times Greatest Hits. What an appropriate tune, Level 42, Running in the Family. Funny that song should come on because sometimes in the midst of therapy, we bring it back to, I was raised like that. My parents brought me up this way. My siblings are like that. And Charmaine, we had a very interesting chat on how to deal and unpack those issues. Is that something that's still okay to say, I was brought up this way? No, I didn't get love from my parents. Especially our generation, our parents were not so overt in showing love, like hugs and verbally saying, I love you. Is that okay to still use as a defense or a crutch?
I think we can. We say it because it's how we feel it, how we perceive of what we receive from our parents. So we perceive that we did not receive love, although love might have been given in different ways. But ultimately, we are here now because of the amalgamation of all the experiences we've had in the past, and it's how we move forward with that, knowing that, okay, I needed this from my parents and I didn't get it. It's no fault of theirs. The ship has sailed. Now, how can I move forward with this and get something for myself? How can I heal myself? Maybe I can't get it from my parents, and I shouldn't be getting it from friends or partners, but how can I affirm myself? How can I empower myself and just get out of that stuck zone and just stop making the excuse for myself?
That's a very powerful thought and, rewrite the narrative, right, in your head, so to speak.
So let's turn to older people, and if they don't conform to norms. I mean, we talked about that with younger people. What does that do to their psyche? Is it just a matter of saying, I want to forge my own path? It's not quite as simple as that, is it?
Yeah, I think when we talk about older people, I'm thinking maybe our parents' generation might be, and they might be already isolated or becoming more increasingly isolated because their children have grown up and moved out, and then their friends, their social circle might be dwindling because of death or just passage of time. And I guess when they don't conform, what it might do is further isolate them, which is it's a scary thing for an older person. I've become more and more less self-sufficient, maybe because I have less of a support group around me. So I would say that ultimately we are social beings. We need to have people around us in order to kind of bounce off ideas or feel connection. And if you're isolated, then that's when things can deteriorate quite drastically.
Just being on your own a little too much.
A bit too much. Yeah. There has to be balance.
Yeah. We are chatting with Charmaine Marsh, and she is the clinical director and senior therapist at Goodity Co, and touching on topics of stress, anxiety, and depression for the young and the old. So if you do have any questions, do send them over via WhatsApp at 88550913. Also, we are on Facebook Live. You can drop your questions there as well.
That's right. And when you do so, it might just win you this $200 shopping voucher from Kiki and Sebi for luxurious baby products.
So when it comes to elderly, our elderly generation, our older folks, what are some other issues we need to be aware about in dealing with them? Because just today in the news, we're talking about how, violence can now appear in the form of coercion. Maybe some older people actually do feel very isolated to the point that they will take any love that they can get, even if it is coercion.
Good point.
And it's really sad because, I mean, for abuse, we have, of course, the physical abuse, we have psychological abuse, we have financial abuse, emotional abuse, and all these things, they take a toll on the psyche, apart from, physical abuse, which is very, very clear cut, right? And I think, over time, you're quite right to say that, for want of connection, they might put up with a situation that is really undesirable. And how do we then, break them out of this, and how do we support them regardless? How do we help them to move forward from this? Which means we have to build more social connections for them, let more people in that are apart from the social group that they have.
Would you say you're seeing a lot of older people coming to you for therapy as well?
Not so much.
Is that a generational thing, you think?
I don't know.
Am I generalizing?
I don't know. I mean, we have a good range, but I would say that there is a average population, which is the 20s to maybe early 40s. Those are the highest amount of clients that we see. So, I mean, the age range. Yeah. But the older generation is a bit, I don't know.
Less open to it.
Yeah.
And on Facebook Live, we had a great question from Carol, actually, to Charmaine about what are some things you need to look out for when you're choosing a therapist to work with?
Okay. Great question. I feel, do you feel safe with the therapist? Do you feel like this is someone who you could be vulnerable with and not feel judged, not feel attacked, not feel defensive? Because you have to be vulnerable in order to get to the real icky bits underneath, right?
Yeah.
Is there a connection with a therapist? Do you feel like you can vibe with this therapist? And if you can do all these things and still you feel that, Anna, you know what, I don't feel that this is the right one for me, it's okay to change therapists. I think it's not, doesn't mean that you can't be fixed or it's your problem. It's something that you just cannot connect with the person, and that's okay. It's just about finding the right fit. It's okay to not come back to your therapist after some good work has been done. It's okay to go back after a long time of not going back as well. Okay. So it's, yeah.
And you mentioned that in therapy work, the first few sessions, you don't really talk about your problem just yet. You actually as therapists would actually try to build a sort of relationship with the client, right?
Yeah. So in our line, we call it the therapeutic alliance. Really, you just want to, the therapist might spend some time just, understanding you in your context, so that whatever we talk about thereafter will be relevant, and just kind of building the rapport so that it's not so, awkward and difficult to have these conversations moving forward.
Generally, how long does that take to build that rapport? Like 2 or 3 sessions before you start really delving into the issues?
I would say, it could happen simultaneously, but I would say between the 1 or 2 sessions.
Okay.
Yeah, or less, depending.
Learning so much here on The Bright Side with Charmaine Marsh. Hey, do join us on Facebook Live at facebook.com/1FM91.3 as we continue our chat with Charmaine, who is the Clinical Director and Senior Therapist of Goodity Co.
Not really, actually. I think there was one about, I think, we see a lot of awareness now with social media coming up with more mental health support groups and, this kind of pages and things like that. And I think that goes a long way in trying to normalize the situation and really allows people to talk about it a bit more. And in that sense, we should capitalize on that and not just, let it be one of those trend things. It's something that it's important. We should keep talking about all these, what we're struggling with. And the more we normalize this, the more people will start to seek help. The more talking about it becomes a more natural thing in that sense.
But it feels like sometimes the more we talk about it, the more, yes, there is more awareness, but then it seems like there is not as much progress as well. Like the numbers for depression are still rising. We're talking about it, but the numbers are still going up. So where's the disconnect?
Yeah. Maybe because we're talking about it more, people are more aware of it. And that's why, maybe in the past, I didn't know that what I was having is some depressive symptoms. But now after I hear or I read that Instagram post or that TikTok thing, and I'm like, maybe I have a bit of that. Maybe now I can talk about it. So I'm not so sure if it's really an increase because people are more depressed. It could be that, but it also could be because people now have the vocabulary and the awareness of that. And that's why they, okay, a sense check for myself. Yeah, I might be suffering from something. Could I do something about it?
So I wanted to ask, when many of us get unwell, we just tend to just, self-medicate. Just chuck in a couple of Panadol and take some vitamin C. Do you find that as well with mental health issues, that people convince themselves, I don't want to see a therapist, or I don't need a therapist, and try to fix themselves, when really probably it's best to talk to an expert, a professional?
Yeah, I think there's a general mindset that, why do I, and quite a lot of people have this mindset, even younger people, why do I want to talk to someone who has their own problems? They're not perfect, so why should I go to them and talk to that? I'm not comfortable talking to someone, and that's perfectly fine. It's just, in this mental self-medication, there has to be a point where you also acknowledge that I do need help now. Whatever I've been doing is insufficient. And if we don't have that kind of self-awareness, then self-medication can be quite dangerous.
Right. That's what I was going to go down to. Like, probably you need at some point to know, I need to stop this and seek professional help.
Yeah.
I do feel like a lot of the older generation are like that. They're not so willing to go and reach out to talk to a stranger. And then it got me thinking about how perhaps we, as their children, as their spouse, we too need to be equipped with the skills to kind of help them deal with these very difficult issues. What are some things that we can, as lay people, do for our loved ones?
I think very much is reaching out and just being present with them, because that's what they need now. I mean, they've retired, maybe they have lost a lot of their friends and all that. So how do we then, keep in regular contact with them? It can be overwhelming, maybe every week or so, but how about every couple of weeks, or maybe every month, a meal or something? Get a befriending service for the elderly, or join a befriending group. I mean, things like that can be done, and there are a lot of groups out there that do befriending for elderly as well, just to keep them company.
So, sorry, what's a befriending group? I haven't heard that before.
A befriending group is like a group of volunteers, or maybe they are social workers, and they go and they visit the homes of known elderly, and they just spend time with them, just chit-chatting with them, going out with them, or things like that. So there are quite a few of them. I don't know.
Lions Befrienders,
Lions Befrienders
I think
is one of them.
I've not heard of that. That sounds good. Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
You want to join?
I might need that one day.
I think it's really useful. I mean, for the elderly who are often home alone as well, they can go out. There are many of these centers where they can go to during the day. It's like a daycare for the elderly, where they have activities for them as well, because it is very isolating. I mean, I see that in my mom sometimes after my dad passed, right? She's alone a lot. But at the same time, we talked previously about how when you see your parents, sometimes you're immediately brought back or reduced to being a child again. And then, how do you find that balance between wanting to be there, a companion, but at the same time without you feeling overwhelmed? Yeah.
I think knowing your threshold is important. So once you go in there, okay, I know what to expect. I know at some point, it's going to really irritate me or piss me off. So when I go in there, maybe I'm going to go for a meal, and then I'm going to go off. I'm not going to linger for too long. So at least I engage with my parent, but I don't stay so long that, it becomes an unpleasant experience. So really it's about that balance. Or if it's not a meal in a place, can we go somewhere else? Or can I get friends in? Or can I bring her somewhere to hang around with people around her age? That can be a social group. So as long as we are in any social setting, that reduces the effects of isolation. Yeah.
Very fascinating.
I'll get her a pet. I'll get my mom a pet.
Get your mom a pet.
Some plants.
We're getting some comments.
My threshold is low.
On Facebook. Wei Chuan says, I want to de-stress now. Okay, this video hopefully is helping you. Alun says, but surely it took me a while to cut down the useless thing called face and pride to talk to a friend, and it actually helped. So that's a really good point. Sometimes getting over that hurdle of asking for help, that's a big step.
There's nothing wrong with that, right?
Nothing wrong with it. No. Good job.
He says, other than a stigma, when you think about having to pay to talk to someone, you tend to shy away. So you end up talking to a scam caller or insurance agent about your problems.
Well, let's just say the scam caller will not be calling again. Actually, that's a good
one.
tactic. Yeah. The scam caller will be like, hey, I have a
unload
problem.
on the scam caller.
Yeah, hey, I'll do that next
Why are we
time.
so averse to paying for help, though?
Is that an Asian thing that we...
I think that's what they were trying to mitigate. The coffee therapy. You pay for your cup of coffee and have a chat. That's how Goodity Co came about.
okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Right.
not how they came about, but one of their initiatives, actually.
That's a pretty good way of doing it.
Yeah, 15 minutes, pay for a coffee, you talk to someone, a trained psychologist or counselor, and you get through your issues.
That is an excellent way.
Which is why we love Charmaine, because she's thinking out of the box, out of the cup.
Out of the cup.
Did that really open up a lot of people, or that kind of softened them up a bit?
I think we were surprised at the amount of people who stepped up and came to us. Yeah, and it was in a public setting. I don't know if you guys know, it's outdoors.
Oh.
It's, in scape, so people are walking up and down, but we have people sitting in front of us just bearing their souls, crying and all
Wow.
that. It was just really, really meaningful because we didn't know that there were so many people out there who were willing to be so open and to trust us with that space. So
Sure.
it was an honor. It was a very meaningful experience for us. And I think that this is just very heartening as well, because if this is the direction of where we are going, then, I hope it can only go upwards from here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Must have been good cups of coffee for sure.
That can save a life.
Yes,
yes. Charmaine, when we come back, I think maybe we'll wrap up by giving people some tips on how to handle depression and hopelessness. What are some of the practical things, maybe 3 things we can do for ourselves if we're feeling that way, and how we can help others, how to identify that in other people, and what we can do perhaps. Is that okay? Or
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Sounds good.
Yeah, because sometimes it just hits you, you're walking along and chatting with a friend and boom, suddenly it's like, oh, this conversation got deep real quick. And you're like, I don't know what
Step
to do.
1, buy coffee.
Yes. Is that true?
Step 2, make sure it's good coffee.
Yeah, I mean, how to listen for the sake of listening, because you want to listen and not because you want to offer help.
Yeah. So I guess, it's about, when you're talking to a friend and they start to get emotionally affected by the conversation, or you sense something is off, I think it's a simple thing to ask, what's going on right now? Are you okay? How you feel?
Yeah.
Just checking in on them and how they feel at that moment.
Yeah.
And if they feel overwhelmed, then okay, let's go get a coffee. Let's go sit down and just kind of, defrag everything. There's a lot going on right now. Let's sit down and have some time to just regulate ourselves again. Because when a person is dysregulated because of some trigger, it's very hard to get anything cognitive in. It's like, I'm really anxious and all that. You're asking me all these questions. I can't just manage it right now.
Going along on that, when you sort of offload on a friend or even a family member like a spouse, at some point it's also going to be tough and exhausting for that friend or spouse
Yes.
to have to listen to this, right?
Have a few friends.
What? Have a number of them. Today it's your turn.
What?
I mean, you're only really going to offload on a very small group, I feel.
Yeah.
And at some point that they can't deal
Take
with that.
it,
They can't take it anymore, right?
Yeah,
So I
that's
guess you have to
true,
be
that's true.
aware of, I might then need to see
A
or talk to someone else, a
therapist,
therapist, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
what can those people say to the friends who have offloaded constantly on them?
To say,
Yeah,
I can't
that's true.
deal with it
Yeah,
anymore.
what
Yeah.
can they say? and
That's
deal
a
with it?
different can of worms, though. Okay, just diving back on air to wrap this up, yeah?
It's almost as if the playlist is well aware about our
What's going on?
our
Yeah.
guests being here. That was REO Speedwagon with Keep On Loving You. Even when you offload all your problems to us, I'm going to keep on loving you.
Welcome to the Brightside. You're with Carol, Lavinia, and Shehzad. Joined in the studio this morning by Charmaine Marsh, who's the clinical director and senior therapist of Goodity Co. And we actually had Charmaine on air with us a few weeks ago because she had this beautiful initiative over at Goodity where they actually sold cups of coffee. They set up pop-ups, in town, sold cups of coffee for like a few dollars. Yeah. And it would come with a 15-minute therapy session with a counselor, which was amazing.
Great idea.
Great way. And, you saw overwhelming response with that.
Yeah.
So if I buy like 4 cups of coffee,
Do I get an hour?
does
So
any quick? I just want to
Singaporean,
know
this
how
one.
this works. Sorry. It's all in the details. Is
But
that
I
how
thought
it
of
works?
that question too.
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
And,
Thank you,
and
Carol.
people did do it, right?
I think, some of people did do it, and we can't say no. But
It's funny how a cup of coffee can actually destigmatize the need for therapy. But then again, it feels like it's not therapy because you're just chatting with a friend. Because you
Which is
grab-
nice too.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. You want your therapist as a friend, would you? No.
well, I mean, friend, I think you have to have that boundary still because they're not a friend. They're a
Sure.
professional who's here
Yeah.
to help you through something.
Yeah.
But maybe the interaction can feel very casual and like a friend.
Ah.
It doesn't have to be so formalized and like, oh my God, I'm talking to a doctor kind of thing. It's
Yeah.
just chill, we're just vibing and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But speaking of speaking to friends, Shehzad, you brought up that really
yeah,
interesting point.
I was just curious because there's that boundary. I mean, obviously, when you have an issue or a problem, you want to talk to close ones like friends or family or a spouse. But at some point, I mean, is there a breaking point? And if so, how do you recognize it and then think, I need to take this a step further with a professional? Or if you're on the receiving end of it, how do you then say, I'm so sorry, but I think I can't help you anymore. I can't. Sometimes it's hard to listen to that stuff, right?
Actually, what you just said is brilliant. It's exactly what
I
I
only
would...
charged $3 for coffees. No,
Oh,
sorry.
really? I'll take you up on that.
I mean, yeah, if you're feeling okay, I think first as the receiving end, if you really feel that, oh my gosh, this weight is too much, and I really feel quite helpless as well that I can't help my friend go past. It's quite frustrating and it's affecting our friendship. Then be open, have that open conversation with your friend. It might be the push that tells your friend that okay, I need to go and seek therapy now because this support group is insufficient to support me.
So don't keep quiet and just
Don't keep
absorb it
quiet,
and
yeah.
just say, I think it's best to do something more about. Okay,
To do something more about it. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in those situations, and you want to help those friends, right? But it's just too many hours of the day, which I don't have, Like the conversation is 3 hours long and I do get affected by it because, it's depressing, right?
Yeah.
How can they get in touch with like Goodity.co? I mean, or maybe I want to recommend it to a friend. What are the numbers we can look at, or maybe the website?
Yeah, you can go to the website and just contact us via email, WhatsApp. We have IG as well. You can DM us. There's a form you fill up very quickly. Then we will assign you a therapist. So very fast.
Charmaine, last question. Yeah. So with someone who is dealing with depression or sense of hopelessness, like things are very bleak, the future looks very dark. What are some things we can do to help ourselves, if we're tuned in, and to help our loved ones?
Right. I think to help yourself, firstly, is the awareness of it. Do you know that you're going down this slope? Do you know what is it you're facing? And how long have you been in this state? And then from there, normally when we're in a depressive state, we just don't feel the motivation to do the things we like to do. But I think that's all the more you have to force yourself just to take small steps towards finding some little pockets of joy in your life. It doesn't have to be a big thing like, oh man, I'm going to go and have this epiphany after I go on this long vacation. But when you come back, there's that crash again, right? Like a sugar high, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of about finding small moments in a day, everything, whatever small moments of joy or happiness you can feel. It doesn't. Contentment is what you're trying to achieve. You're not like elation or happiness. It's really that coffee was great. I know that's a good thing. I will put that as one of the things that made my day today. I had a good conversation with my friend today or my colleague today. That's another pin I'll put in it. So if we could go over time and collect more and more of these moments that just give us a little bit of contentment, you will see that the graph might slowly go up a bit. It's not about a steep climb. It's kind of a gradual pulling yourself out of this bog kind of thing. But it has to be a consistent effort, especially when you feel unmotivated to do so. Yeah.
And if we see the symptoms and signs in a friend, what can we do?
Reach out, ask them, what's going on? How can I help? What do you need from me? How can I be there for you? And if it's really just don't say anything, just let me cry or just let me talk and, something like that, whatever they need, and you see how you can be that person for them. But again, like if you can't be that person to sit there and talk, then okay, I know someone.
Yeah.
You want to go? I can go with you. That kind of thing. So
actually, yeah, that's very powerful.
Be
I can
brave
go
enough
with you.
to do that.
be brave
right?
enough to do that. Yeah.
Oh, guys, I'm here for you. If you all need anything, I got coffee. What can I do? I know you guys do it for us as well. So I'm so proud of this team. We have this wonderful friendship going on as well. And I'm so blessed to have you in the studio with us today, Charmaine. Thank you so much.
She even baked cookies for us.
I know. What a great gal. All right, so
Dangling that.
Charmaine, we're going to hook you up with our Brightside buddies at Goodity.co. That is your Instagram account and handle, and that's also your website. They do good stuff over at Goodity.co. Go have a chat with Charmaine and her colleagues. They are doing wonderful work for Singapore. Thank you.
1FM 91. Good times. Greatest hits. 1FM.